Hello students, I am Mrs. Jenny Shah and I shall be teaching you all history this year. This year we shall learn about world history. You will think, how will we cover the entire world history in a matter of a year? Yeah, that is impossible. So we shall be learning history in form of themes and we shall select themes and teach you. We'll start with section 1 today, which has two themes. The first theme is beginning of the time, that is learning about human evolution. And the second is learning about city life and writing, early forms of city life and writing. Let's begin. In this chapter, we will learn about the beginnings of human existence. From the remote past, millions of years ago, you will learn how humans first emerged in Africa and how archaeologists studied these early phases of history in the remains of bones and stone tools. Archaeologists have made attempts to reconstruct the lives of early people to find out about the shelters in which they lived, the food they ate by gathering plant produce and hunting animals, and the ways in which they expressed themselves. Also, another important development includes the use of fire and language. Finally, you will also see the lives of people who live by hunting and gathering today, and will it help us understand the past? So, we'll start with seeing how humans first emerged. It was 5.6 million years ago, which will now be written as MYE, that the first human-like, very important word, human-like creatures. They were not humans, they were not like us, they were similar to us, they were like us. They appeared on the earth's surface. And after they appeared, several forms of humans have emerged and then become extinct. Human beings resembling us, referred to as modern humans, originated about 160,000 years ago. Now, during this long period of human history, people would obtain food by either scavenging or hunting animals and gathering plant produce. They also learned how to make stone tools and communicate with each other. Although other ways of obtaining food were adopted later. Hunting gathering still continued. Even when they had different means, they did not stop hunting gathering. Even today, there are hunter gatherer societies in some parts of the world. And this makes us wonder if studying their lifestyle will help us understand anything about the past. Which sources help us to understand human history? Discoveries of human fossils, stone tools, and cave painting help us to understand early human history. Each of these discoveries have a history of their own. Fossils. What are fossils? Fossils are the remains or impressions of a very old human which have turned into stone. These are often embedded in rocks and hence they are preserved for millions of years. It is because they have been, embedded in the rock. So probably someone died and that skull, when the body withered, the skull was buried under lots of sand, and because of rains or whatever, the sand became sticky and then it dried up to form a rock, and so the skull was preserved. Recovering fossils, it is a painstaking process. The precise location where the fossil was found is very important for dating. Over here, we can see there are two equipments used by these archaeologists. One of it is used to find out the horizontal position, while the other is used to find out the vertical position. So this over here, this square is used for horizontal, and this triangle is used for vertical. Now, the square frame is a grid which is divided into 10 centimeters square, and placing it over the fine spot helps to record the horizontal position of the fine. And the triangular apparatus to the right is used to record the vertical position. Also notice over here how a fossil fragment is recovered. Over here, it's a variety of limestone in which it has got embedded. Hence, you can see it requires lots of skill and patience to recover the fossil. Stone tools. Stone tools that were made and used by early humans are available in various parts of Africa and Europe. Stone tools such as pebbles, sharp stones, stone blades, etc. were used for various purposes in early human life. These stone tools that we have found, these are not, the reason we know they were tools is because these are not regular stones found. These have been possibly cut or polished or broken into such particular shape so that it can assist the person in hunting, in cooking, in grinding, and all sorts of activities that the early humans had. If you look properly, this particular tool that was found would have been a spear in the early would have been used as a spear. They would tie it to a piece of stick or a bamboo and it would become a spear. So all these stone tools that are found help us understand the human history better. And cave paintings which are found on the walls of the caves in Europe and Africa helps us to understand early human history. So all these three help us to understand human history better. The paintings found on walls, the stone tools that are found everywhere, and also the fossils that we recover, the fossils that we discover. Now, when such discoveries were first made about 200 years ago, that's not very far. 200 years ago, if you look at 5.6 million, 200 years look very close. When such discoveries were made 200 years ago, most scholars would refuse to accept that the objects were the remains of early humans. They did not believe that early humans had ability to make stone tools or paint. What helped in this reluctance, what did this reluctance stem from? Is their belief in the Old Testament of the Bible, which clearly stated that the origin of human is an act of God or a creation of God. And so none of them believed that all these tools and all these fossils that we are finding are belonging to early humans. Now, there's a nice story of Neanderthal skull that was discovered. Okay, in 1856. Very important date to remember. Because you all are history students, you all will have to remember dates now, dates, places. It will become very, very important. So in August 1856, there were some workmen who were quarrying limestone in Neander Valley. Neander Valley, because the skull was found here, it's called Neander Skull. So Neander Valley is a place, it's a gorge near the German city of Dusseldorf. And over here, the workmen who were quarrying the limestone, they found a skull and some skeleton fragments. Now, these were handed over to Karl Forot. Who was he? He was a local school master and he was a natural historian. Since he was a natural historian, as soon as he saw the skull, he knew that it did not belong to the modern human. He saw the size of the skull, the size of the jaw, and he knew that this is not a modern human skull. So what does he do? He made a plaster of the skull for himself, a plaster that he would keep with himself as memory, and he passed on the skull to someone else who would be able to do more discoveries on it. Okay, this is a picture of Carl Perrault, and the picture on the top is the skull that was found, and the one below is the plaster cast that he made. So he gave it to Hermann Schaffhausen. Now, who was Hermann Schaffhausen? He was a professor of anatomy at Bonn University. And what does Hermann Schaffhausen do? The next year, that is, the skull was discovered in August 1856. He spends a good amount of time studying it. And then the next year, that is in 1857, he and Carl, both of them jointly published a paper claiming that the skull represented a form of human that was now extinct. That this is a form of human that is no longer living on Earth. It's an extinct species. And this skull has been found in Neander Valley and it is of an extinct human. At that time, scholars did not accept this view and instead declared that the skull belonged to a person of more recent times. They said, no, this is all false. All that this paper is saying, that Hermann is saying and Carl is saying is all false. And this skull that they have found is of some human recently. It's not very old. Now, so if everything was rejected, what changed? How come we believe all this now? What made the change? Where was the milestone? Where was the turning point? The turning point was Charles Darwin's Origin of Species on 24 November 1959. So if you look at the timeline here, 1856 skull is found. 1857 they write a paper which is rejected. And 1859 Charles Darwin writes and publishes a book called Origin of Species, in which he is arguing that the humans have evolved from animals a long time ago. Now, when this book came out, on the same day that the book came out, all the copies, that is 1,250, all copies were sold out on the same day. That means so many people trusted it, so many people bought it. That's when things changed. That's when people realized that the Neanderthal skull was not of a modern human, it is about an extinct species of human. And that's when people who were researching this were given some value, they were given some recognition. Otherwise, up till now, whatever they found was rejected. All right. So over here, I'm going to pause this and I want to show you all a small video on another discovery that we had made. It's a very beautiful video. So I want you all to find out about it. I want you all to find out more details about it. So right now, I'm just going to pause it over here.
volcanic eruption. A volcanic eruption devastated the landscape near Lake Tolu, Tanzania.
Okay, so I want you all to, I'm going to share with you all a story about a footprint trail that was found. Okay, and this was found it was found in 1976. Okay, but it wasn't until 1978 that the team found it. All right. So now what happened is the team members of Mary Leakey, which is a very important archaeologist you will learn about a lot. Mary Leakey stumbled upon animal tracks, okay, in 1976. But in 1978, they found a human footprint. All right. Okay, so now very important is how do we know that they were human? Because the shape of the feet, along with the length and configuration of the toes, show that they were made by an early human. Okay, and we also know which form of human made it. So before that, I just want you all to see the video. It's a very interesting discovery and how it happened. Very very well reconstructed. Okay,
A
so
volcanic
this is
eruption
how that
devastated the landscape near Lake
historians imagine this, how this must have happened.
A volcanic eruption devastated the landscape near Lake Tolu, Tanzania, some 3.5 million years ago. Releasing tons of ash into the atmosphere.
There was a volcano and
Multiple blasts covered the countryside with sooty sediment.
Lots of ash was thrown around.
By chance, the eruptions coincided with the rainy season.
And there was rain also.
Rain turned the ash to mud. As the rain let up, animals ventured across the smooth, wet surface, leaving prints. Here, a bird meandered through the muck. And then an African hare. And eventually, other footprints were left, ones that look as familiar as our own. Before another rain shower could wash them away, more ash fell, covering the prints and capturing them forever as the ash hardened into rock. 3.5 million years later, anthropologist Mary Leakey found this path of footprints exposed once more by erosion. Two individuals clearly walked here, and details of the prints suggest that another followed them.
That means there were a total of 3.
Stepping in the prints left by one of those who walked ahead. Footprints can reveal other secrets too, as forensic scientist Owen Lovejoy knows. They're often crucial pieces of evidence at crime scenes.
There's no better evidence than that provided by a footprint. That's what makes the Lake Tolu print so exciting, because they give us direct record of how our ancestors walked almost 4 million years ago. When we compare the Lake Tolu print to that of a chimpanzee, the difference is immediately obvious. The chimpanzee, which is a quadruped but occasionally a biped, still has a free great toe, and that great toe extends out away from the foot and leaves a very distinct mark. On the other hand, when we compare the Lake Tolu print to that of a crime scene human print, they're virtually indistinguishable. The great toe is in line with the rest of the toes. What this has done in the human and the Laetoli twin is to create an arch. And that's a hallmark of typical modern upright locomotion, because the arch is an energy absorber. And that's the kind of fine tuning that you would expect in a biped that has been that way for a very long period of time.
Okay, so this was the Laetoli, and I would like to share one more with you all. Okay, so this is Laetoli footprint trails, and I want you all to find out which other animal footprints were found. I want you all to write a small essay of just one page of the footprints of Laetoli and how important discovery is this. Yes, so write only the things you understand. Don't go for words you do not understand. Yes, you can search it from wherever you require, and it should be a detailed essay about your understanding of the Laetoli footprint. That is your homework, first homework for the year. Thank you. Have a good day. Stay safe. Stay home. Keep learning.